Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about how to prepare for Iceland. Don't forget to head over to my Instagram for some photography inspo from Iceland. And obviously there's still so much to learn about Iceland, but here are the things that I did to prepare for a 2-week Iceland road trip. So before we go into any of the details, you have to decide when you want to go to Iceland. Do you want to go in the summer or do you want to go in the winter? And I just want to let you know that if you're looking for a vacation where you want to wear bikinis and sit by the beach, Iceland may not be the place for you. Even in the summer, it's still pretty cold. I visited Iceland from mid to end June, and even during the time I was there, I was sometimes wearing 3 layers of jackets. Second tip is to book in advance. Now, I am a total last minute traveler, and usually when I travel internationally, I'll only book my accommodations for a week and then I'll figure it out after that. However, in Iceland, you do not want to do that. You want to be able to book everything in advance, the places that you're staying, your hotels, your cars, even the hot springs and lagoon tickets. There was actually this one time we were looking for hotels so last minute, but hotels were literally sold out in the entire country. We had no other choice and we all just ended up sleeping in the car. The third tip is to rent a car. Now, there are a lot of tours and a lot of tour buses that take you all around the country, and if that's the preferred method of traveling, so be it. But people like me, sometimes I like to take my time. Sometimes I like to pull off on the side of the road, take pictures of the mountains, and kind of do my own thing. If you're that type of traveler, I highly recommend, and it's almost like you kind of need a car. You could also hire a private tour guide. When we were in the Highlands, we actually hired a tour guide and he was like the absolute best. Hit Iceland, shout out to you. But if you still want to run on your own schedule, I highly recommend renting a car, and again, book the car in advance. And if you do rent out a car, 2 tips for you. 1, don't pull off in the middle of the highway. The highway systems there are not the best and they are kind of narrow, and the highways are usually one way each. There's a high chance that if you pull off on the middle of the road, that you might cause an accident. And apparently there's been a lot of incidents where a lot of rental cars have been damaged because a lot of tourists and foreigners don't know how to drive. The second tip is that not all the roads are paved, so you definitely don't want to travel in areas where you're not comfortable driving in. Oh, and this is another tip, that if you're visiting Iceland from out of the country, that you don't need an international driver's license. Fourth tip is to bring a lot of layers. Bring as many layers as you can. Again, that even in the summer, it's still pretty cold. You might be visiting one spot and it's nice outside, it's warm, it's cool, and then you drive 5 minutes down the road and it is windy and rainy and you're like, what the heck is happening? What the heck is happening? So you just want to be prepared at all times. And no matter what time of year you go, just always remember to either bring a rain jacket, a winter jacket, thermals, scarves, beanies, snow pants. Oh, and also don't forget to bring sunglasses and eye masks if you're visiting during the midnight sun. It's weird because at 3 in the morning, it's so bright outside, and sometimes I had to cover my eyes with my jacket because I didn't bring an eye mask at all. So I want to be able to prepare you that if you're visiting during the midnight sun, to bring an eye mask. It will help you fall asleep and have more energy to explore the next day. Oh, and this is also a weird tip. Even if you're visiting in the winter, to bring shorts. It surprised me, but the heating system inside all the hotels and even the camper van that we stayed at were so good. It was actually so hot in one of the days in the camper van. I only had a long sleeve on, but I was sweating profusely. And sometimes you forget how cold it is outside, but I highly recommend that you bring shorts because that's something that I did not bring and I wish I did. The 5th tip is to bring reusable water bottles and mugs, plates, bowls, forks, knives, whatever it is. If you don't know already, Iceland has some of the most cleanest and the most delicious water in the world. In almost every single place that we went to, in terms of gas stations and restaurants, they had either water on tap, or if you asked the cashier to refill your water bottle for you, that they would. I brought actually this mug and a separate water bottle, and I was able to fill up my waters no problem. There were even times where I actually filled up my water in the streams. It sounds weird, but the water was actually so clean and delicious. There were some days where I even looked forward to filling up my water there. But one tip, that if you are refilling your water bottles from the streams, to make sure that the streams are not filled with sheep saliva or wherever the sheep are, just try not to fill your water bottle. Oh, and also there were actually some places that I've gone to where they actually were going to give you a discount on food if you brought your own plates and your bowls. Now that is a steal. Tip number 6 is to bring plastic bags and baby wipes. Now, especially if you're road tripping around the country, this is something that you do not want to forget, and it's so important to bring. There are going to be some times when you're driving around the ring road and you won't find a bathroom for a few hours. Whether or not you feel comfortable or not, I promise you there's going to be at least a couple of times where you're gonna have to pull off to the side of the road and just do your thing. Especially for you ladies. Even on an everyday basis, even when I'm home, I actually carry plastic bags with me. The way I do them is to fold them small into a triangle and I place them in my bag. And honestly, sometimes I forget that they're actually in my bag. It comes in handy very often. The 7th way to prepare you for Iceland is to shop at supermarkets and to eat out at the gas stations. Now, I'm sure that you already know before going to Iceland that Iceland is not really a budget-friendly place, but there are ways where you could save some money unless you're staying in Reykjavik. I highly recommend that you get a cooler or ask your car rental company if they have coolers available for you to stock up on your food. I packed a lot of snacks because I knew that while we were driving on the road that I was gonna get hungry. If you know me, I am a huge snacker, and I actually brought some of my own fruit too. And some of you guys might actually think I'm crazy for packing fruit over to Iceland, but I actually got the idea after going to so many Amex Centurion lounges, and every time I would go, they would wrap around apples in saran wrap, and I'm like, oh, that's such a smart idea. So I actually packed some apples in saran wrap. The gas stations have some of the best food that I've had in the country. Buying food at the gas station is actually not as expensive as opposed to eating out at restaurants. $25 per meal does add up when that is the minimum amount that you're going to be spending per meal. So again, if you're trying to budget and prepare yourself to not put a dent in your bank, to go to the supermarkets, get your fresh produce and your groceries, and eat at gas stations when you get the chance to. Rule number 8 is to bring credit cards. And if you have more than one credit card, I would recommend trying to bring at least 2, maybe 3 credit cards if you really need backup. And please note that Iceland does not like Amex. Iceland does not accept American Express whatsoever. So please do not bring your gold or your platinum card or your rose gold card. The country is actually really good on accepting credit cards. I haven't had any problems with it since. And also the country does take Apple Pay. I don't want to say the entire country because I realized that almost towards the end of the trip, but I was able to use my credit card everywhere I went. Oh, and also your best bet is to actually bring some type of card with 4-digit PIN. There were some times where at the gas station, I wasn't able to use my credit card because I didn't have a 4-digit PIN. In the country of Iceland, you don't have to tip. If you're from America, it's going to feel really weird going to restaurants and not living any type of gratitude. Even our tour guide at the Highland actually told us not to tip him. Tip number 10 is to ask for tax-free or duty-free receipts. If you're purchasing anything in the country that you're physically taking out, such as souvenirs and clothing and apparel, that you could actually get those things tax-free. Things that are not included in this are things like food and eating at restaurants, but every single time that you're buying something physical that you want to take out of the country, don't forget to not ask for just a receipt, but a tax-free receipt. This was actually our problem because at the end of the trip, we had so many receipts and we didn't realize that we weren't able to use any of them because we didn't ask for a specific tax-free receipt. And when you actually get to the airport, there's going to be a form to fill out of your receipts and all the purchases that you bought. You submit that form in and you will see your refund in about 6 to 8 weeks. The next point is that you don't need to learn the Icelandic language. There has actually only been one case where I met someone who didn't know how to speak English, but English is widely used all around the country. And they're actually taught English at a very young age. There's actually one time where we were in the Highland with the tour guide and he bumped into one of his friends. Of course, because of how popular Mr. 𝚐𝚊𝚌𝚎 is. And I was like, Golden Diane, which means hello, good morning. And that lady actually thought I was Icelandic. Crazy, right? Do I look Icelandic? I don't know. Tip number 12 is to check the weather forecast pretty frequently. Now again, no matter what time of year that you go, The weather in Iceland changes all the time. The last thing that you want to do is to go to a place and have the whole entire landscape fogged out. That is the worst, and that has actually happened. But if you want to save yourself from driving hours and hours to get a certain spot, to check this site. The site is actually really accurate, and actually the locals use this site as well. It's actually used not only to track rain and fog, but also the northern lights. Next is to don't step on the moss. I know it can be really tempting to try to step on the green fuzzy looking things on the floor, but Icelandic people actually hate it when tourists come and step on the moss. It actually takes the moss about 100 or so years for it to regrow again, and you don't want to scar their country. And this is something that you might not know before going to Iceland, which is fine, but this is why I'm here to prepare you before heading over to Iceland. Number 14! Okay, number 14, visit all of the tourist spots. If you're a type of traveler who's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to any of the tourist spots whatsoever, Iceland is not for you. There's a reason why all these spots are so touristy, because these places are just absolutely beautiful. I will say that we didn't go to all of the main tourist attractions, but I kind of wish that we did. And if you are visiting these touristy places, that you visit them as early as you can. These places do get crowded, especially in the summer when there's flocks of tourists. Tip number 15 is, no matter what you decide to do in Iceland, to spend at least one day in Reykjavik. In actuality, if you had unlimited time, I would actually recommend staying in Reykjavik for at least a weekend. But you can actually get a lot done in a day. There are so many good restaurants all around the city, and a lot of the tourist attractions like the church, you could actually walk to on foot. If we had more time, I actually would have loved to visit the ice bar in Iceland. From pictures, it looks like they have ice sculptures and music to dance to and all that stuff, and drinking beer out of ice. Like, that's so cool. Where else can you do that besides places in Iceland? 16, go to the Blue Lagoon. Yeah, you're trying to avoid the most popular thing to do in Iceland, but there's a reason why certain things are popular, and the Blue Lagoon is gonna be so worth your money. We spent, I want to say, about 6 hours at the Blue Lagoon, and I don't regret spending that many hours there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. The Blue Lagoon is actually really good for scheduling your ticket if you missed your day or if you're running really late. On the date of our ticket, we actually got to the Blue Lagoon an hour and a half before closing, and we definitely want to spend more time there. So they actually rebooked our tickets for us on a later day. And whether or not you do that over the phone with them, or if you email customer support, your ticket is easily reschedulable. And also, when you do book your Blue Lagoon tickets, that I recommend getting the premium package. We spent about $74 US per person, but with that you get slippers, you get a robe, you get a free drink, and you get 3 mud mask thingies. And when you leave, you're gonna feel fully replenished from your trip. Number 17 is to go out and explore. Again, Iceland is just a beautiful, beautiful country. And actually, if you take the size of Iceland, it's actually kind of like the same size of the state of Kentucky. That's kind of cool. Kentucky being like its own state. No. If you're driving the ring road or wherever you are, and if you're going to the Highland, which I highly recommend, that you pull off to the side of the road wherever there are pull-out spots, take your photos, just take in the cleanest air in the world. And last but not least is to bring all of your camera gear. Whether or not you're a photographer or you're just getting into photography, or even if it's your iPhone 12 Pro, that you bring everything. Cameras, lenses, drones, extra tripods, hard drives, bring it all. There is just so much to see, and Iceland has so much to offer that you don't want to miss out on snapping a couple of things because you forgot to bring your 70-200mm lens. Actually, that is probably the first lens you think to bring because of the landscapes. Also, don't forget to add insurance on your camera gear too. I actually brought 2 hard drive backups, so every single time that we went to go shoot, especially every time I threw our 2 in the air, that I made sure to back up all my stuff. And if you have extra room in your suitcase, to bring backup. Yes, there are camera shops in Reykjavik and Akureyri, but the prices are going to be a lot more expensive than what you're probably expecting them to be. So from my 2-week road trip, these are the 18 tips I have for you on how to prepare for your Iceland trip. With the 360,000 locals in the country, I have got to say Iceland is probably one of the safest countries that I've ever been to. And to me, Iceland is still the most interesting and abnormal country that I've ever visited. That is just the beauty of Iceland. And also, don't forget that if you're looking for photography inspiration, to check out my Instagram on the type of photos and shots that I've taken in Iceland. And last but not least, If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you guys so much for watching this far into my video, and I will see you guys in the next. Happy travels, y'all.